Hey everyone, Jay here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And before I go any further, so sorry. This video is so long. There's so much to talk about when it comes to the Speedroid strategy, the Speedroid archetype. I try to cover as much as I can, but there's so much more content out there in terms of like all the different decision making, how many challenges there are, how you build your deck around the Speedroids, your extra deck options as well. So I'm going to link some resources here and there. And it'll start with Winter Kills, really. So shout out to Winter Kills for all his Speedroid content. It's really cool stuff. It had been a while since I've done a deck profile. Last time you saw me, if you've been here before, I've been doing a bunch of Marincess deck profiles and doing like a bunch of different weird builds that aren't really that reliable, but they happen, right? And they're just fun to set up if you're able to set them up. But that being said, yeah, I started doing deck profile, or I started doing Speedroids because no one really knows what they do, really. You kind of take them over to locals and they're like, hey, yeah, Speedroids, cool. Someone even got excited. They're like, oh, you're actually doing real, like, pure Speedroids. I'm like, yeah, somewhat, yeah. But yeah, it's a really cool deck. Not a lot of people kind of know what it's doing, so it's great for Rogue, and it's really challenging. I like the challenge that it brings on. Like, you kind of look at the deck list and you read through all these different effects, and you're just like, what do I do? When, where, why, how? So it being challenging along with being fun is why I fell in love with the deck. But another reason that I think people should really pay attention to Speedroids a little bit and see what happens to them in the future is that it's really consistent. It does have a 1-card combo. It has a 2-card combo as well. There's just a lot of card combos that it has. But the 1-card combo, I think, is really powerful, and it really can set up a board. And then all the other 4 cards that you have in your hand, like, they're there to help out, right? So I think it's worth learning this deck and seeing what you can do with it. So all that being said, I just did come off a win at locals. It was my first time ever. I recently just started going to locals in person. So this was my 5th time going to a local tournament, and I won with it. And I think it was my 3rd time playing Speedroids as well. Maybe 4th time. Yeah, I think it was my 4th time. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to keep going and maybe even go to regionals as well. So yeah, what ended up happening at that specific local tournament, on the day I went against 3 different PK players, so that was fun. But game 1 I beat PK, and game 2 I drew against PK. Game 3 I went against Sky Strikers, and game 4 against Eldritch, a really good player. I like going against him. He's very knowledgeable, and I always learn something when I play against him. So shout outs to Chris. And I was really afraid of him because he was taking TC Boo, and TC Boo messes with Speedroids like none other. But yeah, without further ado, let me get into the deck profile. What I'm going to do is segment out this video as best as possible so that you can go through the different sections of the deck profile, and then we're going to end the video on a 2-card combo followed by a 1-card combo. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you enjoy the video, if you like all the information that's being presented here, please feel free to feel free to like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment. Definitely point some things out. I'd like to learn from anyone who plays Speedroids more than I do. I really do. Or anyone who plays less and you catch something and that I was mistaken on. Please do. I really appreciate that. So yeah, without further ado, here's the deck profile. All right, so for getting into the deck profile, I had to set up differently because this is the first time that I'm going to be doing a deck profile with actual physical cards. So that's exciting, right? Okay, we're gonna lead off with our normal summons, or our starters, if you will. 2 of these cards are actually not really starters. I mean, they are, but they're not bad normal summons to have. One of them actually is, yeah, it is a starter. It's the strongest starter because it doesn't have any restrictions with it as some of the other ones may have. But a lot of the other starters, so the other starter that we have, which we're leading off with, Marble Machine, this does have a restriction. And several of the other, there's another card in here that is a starter that has a restriction as well. And then there's an extender that you special summon from your hand. That is there's also a restriction to that one as well. Marble Machine, wonderful normal summon on the normal summon, so not on a special summon, just only when it's normal summoned. You get to search a Speedroid monster, add it to your hand. Cool. The restriction is that for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters except for wind monsters. Everything that you're going to summon out, with the exclusion of Ghost Ogre, is going to be a wind monster. So that'll never really affect us. The next card, again, beautiful starter, an extension of its own right, and it has no restriction to it. This showed up a lot in Phantom Knights. So just as I talked about earlier, I went against Phantom Knights a whole bunch. That card being Terror Top. Very loyal, just showed up in 2 of my opening hands and maybe even 2 or 3 of my opening hands. Get the special summon. It even palled up with Marble Machine in my hand, so I get the special summon search, normal summon search. This also is not restricted to only being special summon. It is also when it's normal or special summoned that you get to get the search off. Moving on, we go to Speedroid Ultra Hound. This is probably my favorite card, just based off of art design alone. But it's a really cool 1-card engine for the deck. The way that happens is that you get to normal summon this on normal summon, and you can use this as effect as many times as you can in 1 turn, as long as it is normal summoned to Foolish, a Speedroid card. That's really strong in combination with Den Deco Duke. We'll get to that extender card in a second. And Speedroid Duplicate, a trap card. We'll get to that interaction later, but essentially what's going to happen is that you normal summon this, and then depending on what else is in your hand, you can dump the duplicate, the Den Deco Duke. There are some other instances where I think you can just dump Fuki-Modoshi Piper or Red-Eyed Dice, just depending on what you're going to go for, what your goal is, depending on your hand, and depending on, you know, kind of what you're sussing out of your opponent. What are they playing? That being said, when you do dump the duplicate, it's a 1-card starter because duplicate, you can special summon, and then with the both of them, you can make a Synchro 3 being your Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter, you bring Wheel to your hand, and you continue from there. But we'll talk about that later when we reach Duplicate, and we'll go even further when we get to Cork Shooter. The final starter card, but really it's also an extender because you special summon it from your hand, but you can normal summon it as well and get its effect. Speedroid Takatomborg. So plenty of times I'm able to normal summon this and then use its effect to tribute itself as cost, and then special summon a Speedroid Tuner from your deck. That's really strong. There are so many varieties of Speedroid that you can play. I don't play Speed Lift in this deck, but with Speed Lift and Takatomborg in your hand, normal summon Takatomborg, tribute it out, special summon Den Deco Duke, or Car Turbo. And Car Turbo in that instance will not restrict you. That's coming up next. If you have Speed Lift in your hand, that spell card is that if you control only 1 tuner monster, and I don't remember if it's a wind tuner or if it's just tuner in general, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Speedroid monster from your deck. And that's really strong, especially if it's Terror Top that you target from your deck to special summon. Those are a really neat combination, and why this is in its own right is a starter. Most of the time I'm just using this to special summon it out. I do believe that the restriction here is on its effect, so it's tribute to special summon. The restriction then becomes the same as Marble Machines. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for wind monsters. Doesn't matter. We're playing all wind. Does not matter a single bit. All right, next we're gonna get into Speedroid Card Turbo. This is kind of our problematic card a little bit. You have to really think about it. This whole deck is all about thinking about the different points of interaction that you have within your deck and with all your cards put together. What happens is that if you control a wind monster, which by the way, I forgot to mention Tagatomborg, if you control a wind monster, you can special summon it from your hand. That's its summoning condition. Card Turbo is going to activate instead. It's a summoning condition that has to activate in your hand, and for good reason. Because if it resolves, for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate the effects of monsters except for wind monsters. Again, it's a wind deck, it doesn't matter. However, if there is a really important point where you're about to get gammaed, so for example, Rubber Band Shooter. If Rubber Band Shooter is gonna get hit by Gamma, you're gonna wanna Ash Gamma, right? To negate the activation. But if you've already used Card Turbo that turn, you can't use Ash, can't use Ogre, you can't use Bell. So you kind of have to like time it out. If you know that they're playing Gamma, try to special summon this out using Tagatomborg or Dendendeko Duke or Wheel. You'll have different options to get into your special summon. Gamma in general just really messes with this deck. Gamma in general just messes with a lot of things. But yeah, that's that summoning effect and restriction that it has. Its graveyard effect is really cool. I didn't talk about Ultra Hound, by the way, my apologies. Ultra Hound's graveyard effect is that you can banish it, banish its cost. Target a Speedroid monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into your deck. Then you can special summon a Speedroid Synchro monster from your extra deck with the same level but a different name. However, its effects are negated. It comes up a lot. It really does. Ultra Hound has a really good graveyard effect, and so does Card Turbo. Card Turbo's graveyard effect is for when you are able to battle. What you do is that you banish both this and one other wind monster, I believe. Nope. You banish this and one Speedroid monster from your graveyard. So banish both Card Turbo and Tagatomborg is usually my other banish. When that happens, when you banish those as cost, all wind monsters that you control gain 800 attack. That's your OTK right there. So the next extension is Dendendeko Duke. Dendendeko Duke is my favorite extension. But it does require some setup. I just nudged the camera over, my apologies. So if you open this in your hand, and I have it at 2 because it can be searched with Tagatomborg or literally anything else in this deck. You're only wanting to put this in the graveyard for its graveyard effect. Obviously, I mean, yeah, you want to mill this as soon as possible using Wheel, or if you run Win the Wind Chandler, which we'll talk about later in terms of options for this deck. You banish this so that you can select a Speedroid tuner in your graveyard or hand. You special summon it. You try to hold off on this as much as you can, especially when it comes to Fuki-Modoshi Piper. Just really cool. If you do get Ash or Belled at certain points, and you know you're kind of wondering what's going on, take a peek in your graveyard. Have you used Deko Duke yet? You should probably use it. The next Speedroid Extender is going to be Speedroid Rubber Band Plane. This one is really cool. This is the one that gets a chain block. So if it's in your hand, if you search it, which is why I have it at 1. If you special summon Terror Top and you have this in your hand, you open with it because you're just that good at Yu-Gi-Oh! Speedroid Terror Top effect on summon, and then Chain Link 2, Speedroid Rubber Band Plane. On special summon of another monster. No, it doesn't have to be a Speedroid, doesn't have to be a wind monster. On any other monster that's special summon, this will special summon itself. So Chain Link 1, Terror Top to search, Chain Link 2, special summon. Okay, resolve, go ahead, go for it. You get the chain block, you know, you won't get ashed on the Terror Top. That's awesome. This is definitely, by the way, I didn't explicitly say it, but this is really good for going second because it's Kite Drake. It's a level 5. We'll talk about that later when we get into the extra deck. But the next extension is going to be Fuki-Modoshi Piper. Probably my favorite one. Honestly, I did say that about Deko Duke. Maybe it's just my favorite deck. I don't know. I don't know. But Fuki-Modoshi Piper, when it is normal or special summon, ridiculous, you can excavate cards up to the number of other wind monsters that you control. Not Speedroid, other wind monsters that you control. This is nuts when you get Aurora down out there. It's crazy. You get to excavate, you get to dig into your resources. Do you want a hand trap? Do you want to combo a little bit more, get your E-Telly? Do you want to get your trap? I don't know. Whatever it is that you need, and I'm kind of foreshadowing when I say trap. That's the side deck. That's the tech. Speedroid Red Eye Dice. This is at 1. You kind of need this anyway for wheel, and we'll talk about wheel later, but this is really cool. Level modulation. You get to, on normal or special summon, not a hard once per turn, you get to choose another Speedroid card that you control and change its level to anywhere between 1 through 6. So let's move on to the spells and traps. So we're gonna lead with Speedroid Wheel. Again, this is a deck that I took to locals as it is. I mean, I'm not doing a deck profile of like the most optimal Speedroid build. It's just what I took to locals that I think did well, that I hoped would do me justice. So that being said, this at 3 very much could be at 2 because it is searchable through Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter finds you any Speedroid, quote unquote, Speedroid spell or trap. Speedroid Wheel. What's gonna happen here is that you mill a card. Deco Duke. Hopefully it's Deco Duke, right? Speedroid Wheel, you discard, and then you roll a dice. Whatever the result is, let's say 3. You get to special summon up to 2, doesn't have to be 2, up to 2 Speedroid monsters whose levels add up to the result of that dice roll. So 3. You either get, you know, Takatomborg, Terratop, whatever, or you get Red Eye Dice and Marble Machine. Cool, whatever. However, if you are not able to complete the special summon, for example, Red Eye Dice. If Red Eye Dice is on the field or in the graveyard and you roll a 1, you lose life points equal to 500 times the result of that dice roll. So you lose 500 if it's a 1. I said field or graveyard because this special summons not only from deck but from your hand. I forgot to mention that earlier. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm a bad content creator. Anyway, I almost never roll a 1, and I love that for me. But yeah, definitely use this as soon as possible if there is a window open for it, especially if you have Deco Duke and you have Ultra Hound. If you open with Ultra Hound, Deco Duke, I want this Deco Duke to get out of my hand and go into the graveyard. Ultra Hound, dump duplicate, special summon it out, synchro 3 into Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter will add this to your hand, activate, send Deco Duke to the graveyard, special summon. Now this next spell is probably, it's 100% the best spell. 100% the best spell. Recovery. Speed recovery, not Speedroid recovery, because that would be nuts. That would be ridiculous. I think this would only be at 1 if this was Speedroid recovery, because if Cork Shooter cannot search this for good reason, because target a Speedroid monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Not a hard once per turn. If you open 2 of these, which by the way, at locals, this was incredibly loyal to me. Like, I opened 2, on the next turn I drew and got the 3rd one. What is that? What is that? It is not a hard once per turn. However, if this is in your graveyard, the turn that it wasn't sent to the graveyard, you can banish it, choose a Speedroid monster, add it to your hand. That also is not a once per turn. So I opened 2 of them, and then on my next turn, I opened 2 of them, and on the open, I used 2 of them to special summon out Speedroid monsters. And then on my next turn, I banished both of them to get Speedroid monsters into my hand. This deck is incredible with the graveyard. It's just so much recursion. It's ridiculous. But yeah, for good reason, it is not named Speedroid Recovery. Same with Speedroid Lift. That's not a thing. It's called Speed Lift. But there is Speedroid Scratch, which I don't play. The final spell trap that I play, the 2 duplicates. So yeah, duplicate. This is kind of crazy. If you set it, its trap effect is that you can banish a wind monster from your graveyard, target an opponent's card? Yep. Target a card that your opponent controls, bounce it. That's really cool. It's really good. And it even has a special little interaction with Ice Dragon's Prison. If it's your turn and you've already had this set, so let's say you set, then they set turn 3, especially against an Eldritch player, right? Duplicate will, if you know you're going against an Eldritch player, try to get this, you know, in your hand so that you can set it on your turn 1. Because what's going to happen is that you try to combo off and then they go, hey, Ice Dragon's Prison. Okay, cool. Pick your targets. They have to target. They pick their target, the one card in your graveyard, right? And it's always going to be a wind monster because I think that's what it does. It targets a monster to special summon. You flip this, you target that wind monster that they targeted, and then you choose another card to bounce it. So they will not get the effect of Ice Dragon's Prison, and they also have another trap card or another monster that was just bounced over to their hand. It's really strong. This trumps Ice Dragon's Prison. Who would have thought? That little guy. This is that little guy. It's just, who would have thought? To go into its combo effect, which is if it's in the graveyard, it doesn't matter when it goes to the graveyard. Target, what's the cost here? If it's in your graveyard, activate. So it just activates. What's going to do, it's going to activate in the graveyard. You target a Speedroid monster that you control. On resolution, that Speedroid monster is going to lose level by 1. And this is going to special summon as a normal wind machine monster with 0 attack, 0 defense. Also, it's a tuner. So that's why I've been talking about Ultra Hound and Duplicate going together. You target Ultra Hound, it loses by 2. You special summon as a level 1 tuner. And then you get to go into your Synchro 3. Because if my math is correct, it's 1 plus 2 equals 3. This effect can only be done once per duel. If you're up against a Speedroid player and they try to attempt this more than once in a duel, call it out, say, hey, you can't do that. Have your red Duplicate. And that'll be that on the Speedroid spells and traps. So I haven't mentioned it before, but this deck that I'm running is a 45 card deck. So the following cards don't necessarily have to be in the deck, but they are kind of nice. But they are kind of brick-ish. They're definitely brick-ish. There's one brick in particular I don't care to see in my opening hand. I really want to search it. But let's get into non-Speedroid extensions. Emergency teleport. Great. I'm running Ogre. Absolutely. Nyan Nyan. So finally, the one brick I do not care to see. At least with Nyan Nyan, I can normal summon it out and it's a level 3, right? And it's a wind monster. Same thing with Mecha Phantom Beast Warbleron. You can normal summon it out and it's a wind monster. You can go into Takatomborg, which is fine considering the version of the extra deck that I was using at locals. Like, this is fine if you go into Takatomborg. But that means you had already used your special summon for the Takatomborg. That means you can't really... You're just going to have to use Rubber Band Shooter to get Takatomborg into your hand, but that's not always guaranteed because of the nature of Rubber Band Shooter. So, yeah, I don't care to see this in my opening hand, but this is 100% for Mecha Phantom Beast Aurora Dawn. Yeah, that'll be that on the non-Speedroid Extenders. I really like them a lot, but these are 5 cards. I could get rid of them, but they do come up a lot. They really do. They do. Not copium, not copium. So finally, we're gonna go into opponent disruptions / hand traps. I say disruptions because I definitely run the Call by the Grave. This did show up at least once, and it's really, I think it's really important to have this card in your deck. I really wish Call by the Grave was at 2. I really do. Otherwise, at 1, it just feels like, oh, you drew Call by the Grave. Oh, he's so good. But at 2, the problem being everybody would run it at 2, I think. I don't know. I wish they did it. The OCG's doing it. I wish we did it. Finally, hand traps being Ash Blossom. Of course, we gotta have this big ass forehead in our deck. And then 3 of the Ghost Bell. I just realized I was cutting off the Call by the Grave. My bad. 3 Ghost Bell, 2 of the Ghost Ogre, 2 Nibiru, and finally 3 of my infinite impermanence. My options here are that I want to go the 3 nibs and 3 ogres so that I can have a true 15 card hand trap deck. What I would do then is just remove one of the E-Tellies, honestly, because although E-Telly, Nyan Nyan, and Warbleron do come up, I think it's more important to see 3 ogres. And then for Nibiru, I would just send the Speedroid wheel. Since it is searchable, I bring that down to 2. I think that's what I do. I will get into other options for this deck. So other options for this deck, when it comes to extension, I think the Speedroid monsters that I have are all there to stay, with the exception of Rubber Band Plane. That one could actually perhaps leave, but his chain blocking effect is actually really cool. If it shows up in my hand, it shows up in my hand, and that's awesome. I love it. But what I could do is instead introduce 2 primitive butterflies, and I perhaps get rid of the E-Telly Nyan Nyan package. The other option is to go 2 Wandering Griffin Riders. So if you get rid of the E-Telly package, that'll be 3 cards if you go into 3 Ogre. So 3 cards. Those could be 3 primitive butterflies. Those could also be 3 wandering griffin riders, or 2 primitive butterflies and 1 wandering griffin rider. The wandering griffin rider, you do not need the adventure token in order to special summon it out. You can just have no monsters and special summon it out. So if you have it in your opening hand and you're going first, Griffin Rider, Takatamborg, Dendendeko Duke, Baron de Fleur. The last option for your main deck is to play probably 2 or 3 of the Winwich Snowbells. Control 2 wind monsters, which you'll never control 2 wind monsters in Speedroid decks because there's no wind monsters. You special summon out the Winwich, and it is a level 1 tuner, and you can do quite a few things with that. But you can also, if you set up your extra deck to have those Winwich Synchro wind monsters, you can do some damage. So those are options. So we're gonna start with High Speedroid Rubber Band Shooter. Let's go ahead and shove it up there for a bit. So what's gonna happen is that you banish for cost a Synchro monster from your extra deck. Then you choose 2 Speedroid monsters from your deck with levels that add up to the level of that Synchro monster. You choose those, your opponent confirms them, and you say, hey, you randomly choose one. What I usually do is say you designate, like, one card will be 1, 2, 3, the other one will be 4, 5, 6, or evens and odds, whatever it may be. Do the dice roll, whatever it lands on. That card is what goes to your hand, the other one goes to your graveyard. Also, its other effect is that immediately you activate it. Immediately after it resolves, you get the normal summon. After you get the normal summon, you can no longer link summon for the rest of the turn. Or you can't special summon from your extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for Synchro monsters. So that's nice. But definitely, if you're wanting to go into Mecha Fanabe's Auroradon, do not normal summon. Hope that you get an extender that you can special summon from your hand, or use Deko Duke to special summon a monster out so you can go into Auroradon. Are you going to use Auroradon? Don't normal summon. Does it not matter? Go for the normal summon, see what happens. Auroradon, we all know what it does. On summon creates 3 Mecha Fanabe's tokens. They're all wind machine level 3. This is really nice to get out of skill drain, because with skill drain you can still activate the effects of monsters. So you activate to tribute itself. It resolves in graveyard, pop skill drain. Really cool. High Speedroid Court Shooter. We've talked about this so much. It is a machine synchro tuner, level 3 wind monster. Just, oh, it's a crazy card. It's a crazy card. This is what you use to get into your Crystal Clearwing Dragon, Synchro Dragon, and I'll talk about that later. But what's going to happen is you can choose one of its effects to either search a Speedroid spell or trap, which we've talked about, or its second effect. If all materials used for the Synchro Summon are Speedroid monsters and are in the graveyard on the resolution of this card, or on the Synchro Summon of this card, you can special summon them back out. High Speedroid Puzzle. This is a battler. At the start of the damage steps, if this card battles a special summon monster, you can make this card's attack become double its current attack until the end of the turn, or until the end of the damage step. My apologies. So this mixed with Chambara, which we'll talk about shortly, is great for OTK. I have it in here mostly for its other effect, which is if it's in the graveyard because it was sent to the graveyard this turn, in the end phase, you get to select a Speedroid monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Moving on, we have High Speedroid Hagoida. Its first effect is that you contribute it from the field and raise all other monsters on the field's level by 1. Next, we have High Speedroid Chambara. This is your OTK card. What happens here is that this card can make a second attack during each battle phase. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles, raise its attack by 200. Every time that it battles, so twice that it battles, it gains 200, and it keeps the 200. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a banished Speedroid monster, and then you add it to your hand. So when it comes to recursion, this card is really cool. Anytime it's sent to the graveyard, you get to send a Speedroid monster to your hand. That's really cool for if you're comboing off and you need to get that card back into your hand so you can extend your play. Really cool. I almost never use it, and I honestly kind of forgot that it does that. The next card is going to be Stardust Charge Warrior on Synchro Summon. You get to draw a card. Have fun. Try to use this if your hand is cracked. Like if your hand is just cracked out of its mind, you can play through 2 interruptions. Have fun. Just do it. The world is yours. The other effect is a battle. This card can attack all special summon monsters once per turn. That's great. And I forgot to mention with Chambara, this becomes a 3000 attack with Card Turbo. So Card Turbo, it swings for 2800. Hold up real quick, player, 200. So that's 3000. Then it attacks again. Once again, let's not be hasty here. Red-haired hasty horse, which is another option for this deck. Raise it by 200 a little bit more, by 200 more. So if your opponent, if you board wipe them and got Chambara back out there, or got Chambara out there, Kite Drake for 3, Chambara for 3, Chambara again for 32, that's game. Stardust Charge Warrior also will attack all monsters for 2800 if you have Card Turbo, and then you can go into your Chambara and swing for 6200. Next is going to be Virtual World Beast Juju. Juju, so resilient, amazing card to have in the extra deck. It'll never leave because, you know, if you're staring down the barrel of the gun, like, and they're all about destroying your opponent, this can't be destroyed as long as you control 2 monsters with the same attribute and type in the graveyard. Did I say control? I just meant if you have those 2 monsters in the graveyard. Its effect also for board breaking is really nice. You can target 2 monsters with the same attribute or type in the graveyard, banish those targets, and then you send a card that your opponent controls to the graveyard. Send it. Don't destroy it, send it. This could be impermed and destroyed, so that's kind of rough. It could be Chi-Shao destroyed. It could just be negated and destroyed. So that's pretty rough. That is pretty rough. Next is when Pegasus Adignister. This is another ban target because Adignister is silly. I'm just saying that for a friend of mine who plays Adignister. Hello, I know you're watching this. This is the ban target, but I also love to Synchro Summon with it and get it into the graveyard because of its graveyard effect, which is if a monster that you control is destroyed, banish it, target a monster that your opponent controls, shuffle it into the deck. Target a card that your opponent controls, even better, shuffle it into the deck. So that's really cool. I like having it in the graveyard, but oftentimes it is a banish effect or a banish target for a rubber band shooter. And you know what? That's just how it is. The game is what it be. Next, moving on. Oh yeah, also of course you get to pop a spell or trap. Just one because you don't play any other Adignister cards in this deck. Why would you? That'd be crazy. But we're gonna go into Clearwing Fast Dragon next. Really cool. I bring it out with Clearwing Synchro Dragon when possible. I'm never making this on my turn. Not on my turn. This I could make on my turn. Yeah, it's really powerful. It's great. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, the Nibiru dodge. Kite Drake, we've talked about it a lot. When it's Synchro Summon, you can activate one of these effects, destroy all the cards on the field, or negate all the effects of all. Yeah, negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls. Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. This is not going to stay in my extra deck. There's just no way. It's really cool, right? If you want to look into it, read it, because I really am running out of time. Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. I just never made it. This could be Barone instead, and that will open up me having 1 Griffin Rider in my deck to go with the 2 Primitive Butterflies. Or 2 Primitive Butterflies, 2 Griffins, and get rid of the Rubber Band play. When you use this final card to get out all 3 of these cards, and then they can't do anything to you, perhaps, maybe they do, maybe they don't, then you probably won't have much need to go into Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon, because then you can just go into Chambara and wipe them for the OTK. But yeah, this final card, High-Speedroid Clearwing Rider. Let's talk about it. So you need a Wind Tuner and a non-tuner Wind Synchro monster. So its first effect is that you roll a 6-sided die, and shuffle wind monsters from your graveyard into your deck up to the result. So it doesn't have to be that way. Then you can. So you can do this your turn 1. You don't have to do the second effect. You can, if possible, you can destroy monsters that your opponent controls up to the result. And for each monster that you destroyed, this card gains 500 attack. Really cool for like getting Hagoida back into your deck, Cork Shooter back into your deck, Speedroid Rubber Band Shooter. I really prefer to play this at 2, but if this is coming out there, like, you're shuffling this back in no matter what. Like, if you roll a 1 and you're like, you know what, Rubber Band Shooter, energy back in there, then you do it. But the other effect is that, really fun, during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, tribute this card, special summon 2 level 7 Wind Synchro monsters from your extra deck. Why? That's where Clearwing Fast Dragon and Clearwing Synchro Dragon come up. So they come in combination with Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. If you're able to play for free, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, Clearwing Synchro Dragon, and Clearwing Fast Dragon. Monster negate from anywhere. Monster negate and destroy from anywhere. If it battles, it gains that monster's attack, if that monster is a level 5 or higher. Clearwing Synchro Dragon. If a level 5 or higher monster on the field activates its effect, negate destroy. If a monster effect from anywhere targets a level 5 or higher monster that you have, negate destroy. Each time that this card destroys a monster, it gains attack equal to that monster's original attack. That's just ridiculous. That's just really, really powerful, these two in combination with Clearwing Fast Dragon. Clearwing Fast Dragon, quick effect, target a face-up monster. Target. If Chishao's out there and is trying to be chain blocked, doesn't matter, buddy. Chishao, you are extra decked. I get to target you. Negate it. Also, its attack goes to 0. Really, really, really powerful. I really like this card in combination with Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Having 4 monster negates that are all really dependent. Again, a lot of decision making has to be made when you're playing this deck. And it all will click. It all will click the more that you practice and play this deck. You know what? I completely forgot. I went ahead and recorded the rest of this deck without going into the side deck. I went into hand test without talking about the side deck. So let's talk about it. Artifact Lancia. Yeah, just hits a lot of decks, right? It's a cut above. I also play the Wind Kaiju, which has helped me out quite a bit. I really love Kaijus in general, especially if you have a way to play around the Kaiju and get rid of it, which with this deck you're able to. You get to go into Kite Drake and destroy every other card on the field. That's awesome. Next, what we have is Cyber / Harpy Lady. This is really fun. It's a level 8. It's a level 8. It's really easy to get into this with your Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon combo line using both Marble Machine and Takatomborg. You can get into both Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and Cyber / Harpy Lady. Definitely never underestimate the fact that you can return a monster to its hand, especially if you for some reason want to have this card for going second, like you know your opponent's gonna go first and you wanna go second, and you have kaiju, you get the Cyber Slash Harpy Lady, maybe they wanna activate like Flandery's map, you get to return this kaiju to your hand, they go through their nonsense, and then you kaiju them again. Like, it's a lot of fun. The real reason I play Cyber Slash Harpy Lady isn't just for its bounce effect, which I did just mention that earlier, sorry. It is for tech that I play in my side deck, which did help me win big time against Phantom Knights. So I'll talk about that. We'll take a quick little detour. So Harpy's Feather Duster, really great card. I love having it, especially against Eldritch or any other trap-based deck. Next, I'm gonna go with Blizzard, and this is kind of cute. No, I'm just gonna get rid of that. Blizzard, yeah, this is really funny. I sight it in if I know I'm going first. I do it, you know, because my deck is pretty resilient and I can play through 2 hand traps, right? So whenever they want to go and they want to use Rite of Aramasir, negate it. If I let them go into Fateful Adventure, negate it. Flanderies and the Magnificent Map, negate it. So next I do have Red Reboot against trap-based decks. I don't like them, so I want to negate them. And finally, we're off the detour. We're going to talk about why exactly I play Cyber Slash Harpy Lady. Maybe you feel that ominous just in your soul, like you're just like, no, I don't. Something's wrong here. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. Yeah, it's Harpy's Featherstorm. You know, the route to get into both Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and Cyber Slash Harpy Lady, as overkill as it is, definitely came up, and it was something that I had a lot of fun doing because I'm an evil person, I guess. But Harpy's Featherstorm, really great to side in for going first, especially with Stardust Charge Warrior and Fuki-Modoshi Piper, just digging into your deck and looking for these resources. Again, use Fuki-Modoshi Piper after you've thinned out your deck a little bit more, just so that you find the chance that you get this. But yeah, Harpy's Featherstorm, a lot of fun. We are now gonna go ahead and get into the hand test. We're gonna do a 1-card combo and a 2-card combo. Okay, let's get into it. I don't have a lot of space. Yeah, again, this will be this is a work in progress. I need a different kind of tripod and one that'll support what I'm trying to do here. But without further ado, let's get into some test hands. All right, so we're gonna go with the 2-card combo first. We're gonna start with Marble Machine and Taka Tomborg. So let's just speed through this, speedy boys. Marble Machine uses effect to search, and now you are locked into only win monsters for the rest of this turn. So you're gonna search Car Turbo. Right, Target Tomborg, you special summon it out because you control a Wind Monster. Again, same restriction applies. You're going to tribute it out and special summon. Then a Deco Duke. Cool. So what you can do here is then go into your Hagoida, and your opponent is going to sniff it out and be like, okay, that's Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. That has so far been 1, 2, 3, 4 summons. Activate in hand, Card Turbo, special summon it out. That is the 5th summon. This is the Nibiru, right? This is the Nibiru. But let's say you got lucky. The Yu-Gi-Oh gods have blessed you. The Yugi gods, I guess. And I always forget, this card needs to be on top of the extra deck. The Marble Machine. Oh my gosh. So, that's Crystal Clear Ring. That's Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Cool. Now what you can do next is banish Denidego Duke, target Card Turbo, special summon. Because you control a Speedroid tuner, which I didn't mention this earlier, my apologies. Because you control a Speedroid tuner, you can special summon Hagoida from your graveyard. Great. This is how you get double Crystal Wing Synchro Dragons, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to be a little bit more greedy. I'm trying to play a little quicker. So what I'm going to do is go into Rubber Band Shooter instead. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's do that. Rubber Band Shooter instead. These are all 3, you know, whatever cards, right? They're whatever. Rubber Band Shooter. Let's go ahead and use its effect to banish. We don't really need Stardust Charge Warrior here, so I'm just going to banish it. And now we are going to look for cards that add up to that result, right? So honestly, it could be Ultra Hound and Terror Top. I really would like Fuki-Modoshi Piper, but the chance that it's going to show up in my, show up for me to normal summon in combination with only having 2 Wind Monsters so that I excavate 2 cards, I don't care. I don't really care for that. If I still had Den and Deco Duke and didn't use its effect and it's in the graveyard, then yeah, 100% I go for the Fuki-Modoshi Piper. But I'm not doing that here because I can only just go for the normal summon. And yeah, I'm not going for whatever this is called, I'm not going for Auroradon, my apologies. So what's gonna happen is your opponent randomly chooses, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to randomly choose. Let's say it's evens, odds. Do a dice roll. This was a 5, so odds, Terror Top. This goes into your graveyard. That's fine for your next turn. Cool. I would have preferred if it was Ultra Hound, and I can show you what happens if it was Ultra Hound. So effect to normal summon immediately. Effect to bring a Speedroid card to your hand. Speedroid monster, my apologies, not Speedroid card. It kinda really doesn't matter which one you choose because at this point your turn essentially ends. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what you get. It's not my favorite at all, honestly. But again, these cards could be literally anything else. So that means you probably could have got a few more bodies and a few more resources in your hand. So we're gonna move on to what would happen if it wasn't Terror Top. Let's say it went to the graveyard, right? Normal summon Ultra Hound. Ultra Hound, effect. Send duplicate. Duplicate, effect. Target Ultra Hound. Lose by 1. Level 1 tuner. Synchro summon 3 into Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter effect. Bring a Speedroid spell or trap. You can't use the second effect because duplicate is a trap and not a monster. Searchable. Speedroid Wheel. Wheel, again, these cards are going to be whatever they are. Wheel effect, discard. Let's say it was this card. Whatever that card might have been. Now you roll a dice. 6. That is that is very strong. That is doesn't happen a lot. Does not happen a lot. So what you can do here, which is incredibly greedy. This is incredibly greedy. What'll it be? It can't be Taka-Tomborg. You already special summoned a Taka-Tomborg this turn. Could be a car turbo, yeah. That's a tuner. And for the purposes of what we want to do, a tuner is going to be completely fine. But let's see what your other options are. Fuki-Modoshi Piper and Marble Machine. Let's say it's those two, right? Let's say they are these two as your options. They can't use their effects. Bummer. Whatever. Happens. We can just go Synchro 6. Put it back over here because I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. And go into Juju. So this is a fairly resilient board right here. You have attack, defense. This will definitely get obliterated at some point. But this can't be destroyed. This is a very strong monster negate to go against anything that's incredibly threatening like Tenyi Spirit Vishuda. But also, what is completely possible for you to do is to go... If it wasn't Juju, right? This is incredibly risky because now you lose Nibiru. But if you go into your 5th summon without being Nibiru'd, it's probably safe to say they don't have Nibiru. So you go into your High Speedroid Clear Wing Rider. Now you get to choose 6 Wind Monsters to shuffle into the deck. I'm definitely going Cork Shooter, Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, Hagoida, sure, why not? And then this has Recursion. This does not. This has a Graveyard effect. This does not. So let's just say it's just 5. 5, that's fine. These 5 get shuffled back into the deck. And now you can look to go for Juju. I'm a good boy, I'm putting Marble Machine over here. And then you pass turn. I don't believe there's anything else we can do here, no. Standby phase, if they have Imperm, then you know what, sorry. this just won't do anything. But if they don't have imperm, main phase, quick effect, or you want to use this as soon as they activate something, right? Clear wing and clear wing fast. Cool, right? You all of a sudden have 2 monster negates, 3 monster negates, a really resilient card, and that's pretty good for a 2-hand combo if you land on that Ultra Hound. If you land on the Ultra Hound. That's not too bad. You also have 2 cards in your hand. In this instance, I was able to draw Ash Blossom and Nibiru. That's good. That's fine. But let's go for the 1-card combo, actually. Okay, here's 1-card combo. We don't care what any of this other stuff is. 1-card combo, normal summon. We're gonna dump the duplicate. Right, we've done this before. We know what's going on here. Special summon it out. Synchro summon 3 into, where's my beautiful boy? Cork shooter, bring wheel into my hand. Wheel, there you are. Searchable, could definitely be at 2. Effect, discard, roll. 6, we got a 6 that time because we are just that good. What are they gonna be? Let's say, for the purposes of this video, that you want to choose Car Turbo and Dendendeko Duke. Okay, now personally what I would like to do here is go into your link. High Speedroid Rubber Band Shooter. Effect. You're going to go ahead. You don't have a cracked hand. Let's just say it's not a cracked hand. It's a 1-card combo. Stardust Charge Warrior. You banish it. Go for Car Turbo and Taka Tomborg. The reason we don't special summon out Taka Tomborg with Speedroid Wheel is because Speedroid Wheel negates the effects of the monsters that are special summoned out. So you wouldn't be able to tribute it to get the special summon. But now we still have the special summon. We have wind monsters out there. We didn't special summon Car Turbo by activating it from hand. We now have 2 options. Doesn't matter which one goes into your hand. We would prefer Taka Tomborg to go in our hand. We really, really would. We really would. So let's just do a dice roll here. We'll see which one goes into our hand, right? Evens, odds. Even, Car Turbo. All right, we are back to the state in which we were in, and we have Taka Tomborg instead of Car Turbo in our hand. Taka Tomborg, I'm gonna hold on to for just a little bit, all right? What we're gonna do is link 3 into Auroradon. Auroradon effect to get the 3 tokens out. Now, we get to use Dendendeko Duke. Banish it to target your Cork Shooter, special summon it out. Now, because it is, or the reason I want to use Cork Shooters because maybe I do want to go into Crystal Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, which would meet the requirements. And this meets the requirement for literally any other extra deck monsters that I have. So it's good to have this here. Just as long as, I have a 7 or something to go into Crystal Clear Wing Dragon. But now I'm going to go into Speedroid Taka Tomborg. Taka Tomborg will tribute itself out and go into Fuki-Modoshi Piper. Now Fuki-Modoshi Piper is going to Excavate 5, incredibly, incredibly powerful. We have choices, right? Nyan, don't care. Speedroid, don't really care. So what is it really going to be? Is it going to be Ash or Speed Recovery? Well, take a look at the state of our graveyard to make this decision, right? We can special summon the Car Turbo back out. We cannot special summon the Taka Tomborg anymore. There's no use to special summoning the Rubber Band Shooter anymore. So it's really just, do you want the Car Turbo? You don't really care for the Ultra Hound. In fact, you want to keep it in the graveyard so you can have its effect on your next turn. So do you want to have your Car Turbo back out? For 3, that is your Clear Wing Synchro. No, my apologies, this is your Wind Pegasus. Then you go into Crystal Clear Wing. Now, if you have Speed Recovery, you target. Well, at this point, it could be Car Turbo, Fuki-Modoshi Piper, or Cork Shooter. This is a good way to kind of like go back into a very similar board. Go Synchro 7 into Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, right? Then you banish Fuki-Modoshi Piper, lower it by 2. You tribute these to get your Warbler on. And then 5-1, you go into Juju. Really cool. Those were the 2 card hand tests and the 1 card hand test. You can do so much more, and like I said earlier, I am going to be making a video series of myself playing Speedroids online. Either it's going to be, you know, Edo Pro, or it's going to be Dueling Book, but mostly I think I'm just going to keep it at Edo Pro. But yeah, I will do commentary again. So yeah, thank you for tuning into the hand test. I really appreciate that so much. And I hope I get to see some comments. What do you think? What do you think the Speedroid deck should include? There's so much. What do you think it should include? But yeah, just go ahead and leave some comments. Thank you so much. Subscribe if you'd like to. Leave a like on the comment, or leave a like on the video. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all have a wonderful time. Let's get ready for Outbass Strike. Ha ha ha. More engines. Ha 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 ha.